Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. 2 more people who tested positive for COVID-19 in Saskatchewan have died. Both were in the 80-plus age group in the North Central and Saskatoon zones. There are 134 new cases to report, including 12 in the Northwest. The immediate Lloydminster area has 5 new cases and 34 active cases. There are 1,492 active cases in Saskatchewan. 154 people are in hospital, including 11 in the Northwest, with 1 in intensive care. All seniors in long-term care homes have received their first doses. More than 80,000 vaccine doses have been given province-wide. As the city continues to plan for a future permanent Lloydminster Cultural and Science Centre, the city is asking for residents' feedback. Eric Bay has more on the latest step in the process.
I'm joined today by Tracy Simpson with the City of Lloydminster. Tracy, thank you so much for taking some time with me today. And now the city is looking at the future of the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Centre, now being called the Lloydminster Museum and Archives. What is currently being planned by the city for the new facility?
So the new facility is going to incorporate a lot of the things we had in the last space, but just into the new space. We're going to have, a permanent exhibit featuring the archives and the items that we have in our collection. We're going to have an art studio and the pottery studio, which are features that we currently have that we're moving over. We're going to provide some space for some traveling exhibits, ones that we can share from other museums, as well as featuring kind of some specialty items that we already have in our collection. And then programming and gift shop space and all of those features that a museum traditionally has.
Now, one of the things the city plans to focus on with the new facility is local history. Just why the emphasis on local history here with the new facility?
Lloydminster has a unique story to tell, and we want to be part of sharing that story. And we have an expansive collection of items and artifacts that feature that story, and we want to put them on display so everyone can enjoy them.
Now, this month, from right now up until March 22nd, the city is looking for some feedback and public engagement. How can people get involved with that, and what kind of feedback are you hoping to receive?
They can get engaged online at yourvoiceloyd.ca/LMA. And we're looking for ideas on what they see the future of the facility look like, what they enjoy about going to the museum, what they look forward to in the new space. There's opportunities to do surveys and idea boards. There's some Q&A for the public, and we're just looking for them to reflect on their past experience, what they enjoyed about that, and what they look forward to in the future.
Now, how will that feedback be used by the city when it comes to creating the new Lloydminster Museum and Archives?
So the feedback will incorporate into our vision and our plans for the facility. We'll take all of our public engagement and look at kind of what we heard in terms of themes, and we'll incorporate that into our vision and long-term plan. They were really excited to hear from the public. This is a great opportunity for them to voice their passion and their interest in the museum, and we look forward to hearing that.
All right, Tracy, definitely an exciting time here for the new facility. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today.
The Kiwanis Lloydminster and District Music Festival will kick off next month, giving local musicians a chance to showcase their talent. Jace Mackey has more on how the festival is adapting this year.
I'm joined today with Catherine Edwards. She is the Vice President of the Kiwanis Music Festival Committee here in Lloydminster. We're going to be talking a little bit more about this year's festival. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
Last year, like you mentioned, the festival wasn't able to go ahead as planned. This year, it's going to be a virtual format. Can you just tell me a little bit more about how things are going to work this year?
Yeah, so our festival we run with, we're part of the Saskatchewan Music Festival Association. So what happens this year is that we're doing, basically it's 100% virtual. So what that means is that this year, as opposed to our previous festivals where it's an in-person festival where they come in person and they perform their pieces live in front of an audience and in front of an adjudicator. This year they take videos of themselves and then submit them virtually. So we've actually had to reconfigure the entire format of how we do the festival because this year they need to upload their videos ahead of time and get those done. so it's a completely different format than what we've done in the past, but we've had a lot of support from the Saskatchewan Music Festival Association and the program that we're using. It's really efficient and it's running really well.
So entries closed over the weekend for people who wanted to take part. How good was the turnout from people taking part this year?
Well, we did anticipate that we were going to have less participants this year. We were anticipating that, and we have about 45% of what we normally have. So last year we had 882, I think, is the amount of entries that we had. This year is 337. And a big part of that reason is because we heavily had we had a lot of involvement from the school bands locally, and we did have some choirs as well. And because of the restrictions in the schools this year, as far as having band class, that also affected our numbers. Also, I think just the preparation for it this year is different than in years past. A lot of teachers this year are teaching online as well. They're teaching virtually. So I think there was that obstacle as far as preparing the students for music festival this year. So we were anticipating that the numbers were going to be lower, and they were, yeah.
And how important is it for kids to be able to be exposed to music, and how does it benefit them?
Music benefits children in so many ways. It's been scientifically proven that music, because you are working a different part of the brain, and in some cases you are actually working multiple parts of the brain. So you're actually expanding a child's learning capacity. You're expanding what their brain is capable of absorbing. So there's that side of it. And not only that, but, and I think this year has really proven this point, is that music can be seen as a form of therapy. It can be seen as a comfort for people. And I know in the last year, we saw that all over the internet, that people were creating these music videos and creating these like these virtual virtual choirs that they were doing. So I think this year we really saw that people were finding comfort, and they were finding I guess solace and therapy through music. So it is so much more than just learning notes and playing notes. It gives kids creative expression, self-discovery. It's anytime you do something artistic, it expands that creative side of a child. So I think what's really great is that we were able to continue doing lessons this year. A lot of activities were canceled due to COVID restrictions, and thankfully the music community was able to continue in a totally different way. This whole year has been, basically, I think, turned music teachers up on their head as far as trying to figure out how to continue offering music lessons. And we're very thankful as a committee that we decided it was very easy to just throw in the towel and say, this can't be done, this is too much. And there are a lot of festivals that did that this year, and that's okay, because it's been a lot of refiguring, a lot of touch and go, figuring things out as we go, being in very close contact with the Saskatchewan Music Festival. But at the end of the day, I think we all agreed that it was important to have that children had something that they could still work toward, a goal that they could work toward, a sense of accomplishment, something that they can be proud of, especially that they had some sort of activity that they could continue to do, because so much has been canceled this year. And it was just one tiny thing that they could work towards, and something positive that we could bring to the community.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me today. And I know last year's event didn't get to go ahead as planned, but it's exciting that you guys were able to make things work this year.
Now our Connor Chan will take a first look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot there, Jasmine. Looking at our temperatures right now, still sitting around the even mark there at 0 degrees, -5 with the wind chills. What it feels a little bit more like right now, we're going to get a kind of an up and down kind of week here. Pretty consistent though. We're not going to be too cold, but we're not going to be too warm either. But as we take a look right now, as I mentioned, 0 degrees right now. As we take a look at some other temperatures in the area, 2 degrees in Vermilion, 3 for Vegreville right now, 2 also we see in St. Paul, -1 up in Bonnyville and Pierceland as well, 5 degrees out in Edmonton, 4 degrees in Wainwright and Provost, -4 in North Battleford right now with -1 there for Maidstone. As we take a look here at the satellite radar map right now, a little bit of activity going through that Lloydminster area from earlier on in the day there, but nothing to worry about here as we get into the next couple of days. That kind of system made its way into the North Battleford currently with that -4. Came some snow with it, with clear skies going overnight tonight at -12, -3 for them tomorrow. Take a look here overnight. Also clear skies we'll see throughout most of the region, -10 in Cold Lake overnight. Going into tomorrow, 0 degrees right for Cold Lake throughout the day. Same thing for us here for overnight as well. We'll have -10 with some clear skies going into tomorrow with some sunshine coming back into the forecast with that high there of -1. I did mention yesterday we are going to see a little bit of kind of colder and warmer days kind of ahead here, kind of a mix of both here as we take a look here at the next 3 days here. We look at Thursday, -1 with that low there of -11, and then as we look into Friday, we're going to get very warm as we get ready for the weekend here. Wind chill is going to feel a little bit more like -14 on tomorrow and -12 there on Thursday. But as we look ahead into Friday, as I mentioned, 2 degrees with a low there of -7 with still continued sunshine throughout most of the week here. With that wind chill will feel a little bit more like -5. That's a first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Telemiracle wrapped up its 45th telethon this past weekend, raising over $5.6 million. We spoke with the Telemiracle chair, and he says the support from Saskatchewan people was stronger than ever. Our Shelby Clark has more.
I'm speaking with Telemiracle 45 Chair Brian Angstad. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm very good. After this weekend, Telemiracle wrapped up its 45th telethon in Saskatoon and raised over $5 million. What's the exact total at this moment?
The total that was given at the end of the show is $5,630,215.
And since 1977, how much has Telemiracle raised in total?
During halfway through the broadcast, we just surpassed the $145 million mark.
And how amazing was it to see how strong the support was from Saskatchewan people for this year's event?
It was amazing. During with this year being a COVID pandemic year, we didn't know what to expect, and for the people of Saskatchewan to rally and for us to have the third largest total in Telemiracle history, we're honored and completely amazed on the support that we got this year. And we just want to thank the people of Saskatchewan for having our backs and for coming through for the people of Saskatchewan.
And what was the experience like having Telemiracle virtually?
The feedback I've been getting from people from all over the province has actually been very positive. Again, we really missed having the viewers there and the people in attendance and all the kin people, but I think everyone understands that the hurdles that we had, and we wanted to make sure that we put on a safe show, so they understood. And the video quality and the pre-recorded SAS talent went over really well, and we were able to deliver a different type of show this year, and it went over very well.
And I know this year there was also a first online 50-50 raffle. How was the reception for that aspect?
It completely we were in complete awe on the support on the 50-50. The 50-50 pot ended at just over $726,000. So the person who won that's life-changing for them, and it was really good to see that support, and we will most likely be doing that again in the future.
And for residents who may not be aware, what will the proceeds from Telemiracle be going toward?
All the proceeds for Telemiracle for the last 45 years stay in the province of Saskatchewan. It helps people with medical travel and medical equipment. So when people are having that dark day, Telemiracle steps in to try to make things just a little bit brighter.
And are you able to tell me a bit more about the 75 Saskatchewan performers who were on the telethon this year?
Yeah, so that was great. We started that process in last October. So we do auditions, and then once we had our 75 talent, we went through very vigorous pre-recording sessions, and we just wanted to make sure that we were doing it safely and getting a good product for the show. So, and the 75 performers that we did have on the show were absolutely amazing. We're just in awe and amazement every year on how SAS talent just seems to get better and better every year.
And is there anything else you'd like to add, Brian, about the 45th Telemiracle event?
I just want to say thank you to the people of Saskatchewan for coming through and helping Telemiracle and making it a very successful one. And we're really looking forward to Telemiracle 46. The starting planning for that is going to start here within the next week or so. And the show itself is in good hands with the 46 team.
Well, we think it's incredible to see how strong the support was from Saskatchewan residents for Telemiracle this year, even though it was virtual and through COVID. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lloydminster's Community Legal Clinic is hosting remote sessions for legal advice. Tate Laycraft has more.
Sitting down with me via Zoom is the executive director for the Community Legal Clinic, and she's here to discuss their upcoming clinic on March 18th, where people can book a free appointment to speak to a lawyer on any legal matters. Kathy Parsons, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me on.
So the first thing I wanted to ask about is how you guys are currently conducting these appointments. Are they done over the phone? Are they done online? How have you guys adapted to COVID protocols?
Most of them are done on the phone now. Back pre-COVID, we had partners in the community that would assist us with face-to-face consultations. So clients would meet face-to-face with a local lawyer, discuss their legal matter, get some understanding about their rights and responsibilities around that, and some next steps to take in order to resolve it.
And what kind of legal matters can people seek advice on? Are there any limitations to the depth or topics of discussions in these meetings?
The meetings are typically 30 to 45 minutes. They cover most areas of law. We do have two advocates on staff as well. One is a tenant advocate, so she helps people resolve issues around the Residential Tenancies Act. And then we also have an immigration advocate who is a trained certified immigration consultant who deals with matters related to immigration. But otherwise, pretty much every other area of law is covered by the volunteers who actually provide the service.
And for people who might be interested in seeking some guidance or insight, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can touch base through, most commonly through phone. So they can give us a call. There's local area dialing number. We also have a 1-800 number. And we have intake staff that are trained to figure out exactly what it is the client needs and be able to match them up with a lawyer who does practice locally to Lloydminster and, get the consultation set up. And then the lawyer will call them at the appointed time and they can discuss their matter with the lawyer.
And before we close, is there anything else that you wanted to touch base on or communicate to the masses?
I think it's a really important service because the law, regardless of what other circumstances are going on, is very intimidating for people. And there's lots of bad information that you can get through the internet that doesn't necessarily pertain to our jurisdiction or is just plain bad information. So it's really important for people to be able to understand the confines of their legal situation, to be able to know that they have rights, that they also have responsibilities, and that there are steps that they could take themselves if they needed to in order to resolve them, or they could perhaps also get further assistance from our organization. I do have two staff lawyers. One is dedicated to helping clients in remote locations. So that lawyer is able to could draft some documents or negotiate things or, whatever is required for the client. Because some things cannot be resolved by the client themselves. But if they can take steps, it helps to empower them to solve the problem and not just feel like it's law. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. It will, clearly outline things for them in a way that helps them to understand it and to help move it forward.
Thanks so much for doing this, Kathy.
Thank you so much.
Now here are your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
The AJHL announced the league will resume the 2021 regular season next Friday, March 12th. This comes less than a week after the government of Saskatchewan put the Lloydminster Bobcats on the sidelines. The Bobcats were in isolation when the team got the news. Lloydminster MLA Colleen Young wasn't involved in the decision, but says tough choices had to be made.
I do realize the pandemic has caused considerable delay in the hockey season for many. So, they have some tough decisions to make, whether even restrictions are slightly lifted in order for them to be able to play, as to whether or not it's still viable and valuable for them at this stage of the game to move ahead with the hockey season at all. So,
the Bobcats will remain in isolation with hopes of still joining this season. Around this time last March, registration was wrapping up for minor ball in Lloydminster. Then the first wave of COVID-19 hit. The season had to be pushed a few months back, and some kids didn't get to play. But this year they're hoping for a different outcome. Last year, not all teams in the Lloydminster Minor Ball Association struck out, as some of the older divisions got the chance to compete. But they are confident this year all teams will be able to step up to the plate.
We're really hoping that all of our programs run. Last summer we had to, because we weren't allowed to reopen till the end of June, we didn't run our younger programs, our Rally Cap and our grassroots 11U and 13U city leagues didn't run. So that was unfortunate. So hopefully we were able to get back on the field at the start of May and run all of our programs, not just the elite baseball.
Last season, in order for teams to play safely, they had to follow many COVID-19 regulations to avoid the spread of the virus throughout the league, which they believe will carry on to the 2021 season.
Last summer we had sanitation procedures, sanitizing equipment, sanitizing dugouts, and keeping kids spaced apart when they're in the dugout. But basically the on-field play was pretty normal. So hopefully when the weather gets a little warmer here and if cases keep trending down, we get the word that it's going to be something like last summer was.
For anyone looking to help out in the dugout or on the field, they're currently searching for coaches and volunteers for all age groups.
For our Twins AA program, application links are on the Lloyd Minor Ball website, lloydminsterminorball.ca. We still have registrations open for our Twins players, and we're always looking for volunteers and coaches. We'll also be doing a push at the start of April for anyone interested in umpiring. A lot of our players that play will also umpire, but if there's anyone that's interested in umpiring adults or students.
More information on the upcoming season and registration for all age groups is available on their website. Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
Out there, Jasmine. Take a look right now. Still sitting around that 0 degree mark, and hopefully as spring is getting closer, hopefully all those ball players get a chance to go out and play some baseball this year. With the field starting to, of course, as it's getting warmer, the fields are going to start to melt for a chance to get out there and just enjoy the grass once again there. But as we take a look out west, 5 degrees in Edmonton, Rocky Mountain House, and in Jasper as well. 4 degrees up in the Athabasca Whitecourt areas as well. As we move over to Saskatchewan right now, we're a little bit colder as that trend has been the same for the last little bit here. -4 for North Battleford, -5 up in Meadow Lake and Prince Albert, -7 in Melfort, and -3 there in Saskatoon with 1 degree in Cold Lake. Now taking a look here up north in the northern temperatures right now, -8 for La Loche and Buffalo Narrows with -11 in La Ronge and in Flin Flon as well. A little bit colder as we make our way to the further northern regions there in Uranium City, Stony Rapids, and Walston Lake, all sitting at that -16 mark. Now looking ahead to northern Alberta right now, a little bit warmer in some spots here like Peace River at 1 degree, 3 in Grand Prairie, -10 though as we get a little colder going a little further up. -10 for high level there, -4 in Fort McMurray, and then -9 there we see in Fort Chipeway. Now taking a look here at southern Alberta, fairly warm as we see some double-digit temperatures here in Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, sitting at 10 degrees, 5 degrees there for Calgary, 3 degrees in Banff right now with 1 degree in Coronation. Looking ahead to southern Saskatchewan, a little bit warmer in some spots compared to yesterday. 4 degrees in Swift Current with 1 in Moose Jaw, -2 for Regina, -5 in Yorkton, and as we see 2 degrees in Estevan as well, and 0 in Kindersley. Now take a look here across the rest of the country. A little bit warmer in Winnipeg today, as of course they were at the -10 mark yesterday. Now that kind of shifted over to Quebec City, which now sits at -11 with a little bit of clear skies and some cloud coverage as we're getting into the evening there. -2 for Toronto, 0 in St. John's, and -11 there in Halifax. It's starting to get a little bit colder out in the Maritimes. Now looking ahead to Vancouver, still that cloud coverage continuing on there at that 7 degree mark as we look up to the Northwest Territories, -20 in Yellowknife with some flurries, and then we see -2 there in Whitehorse. Now taking a look here at the the temperatures for tomorrow as my screen kind of still tries to get to load. There we go. -1 is our expected daytime high tomorrow. We're going to kind of see that for the next little bit here. We're going to have a fairly warm weekend. Lots of sunshine still continuing on. Lots of cloud and sun mixes there. So -1 for us here tomorrow. 1 degree in Vermilion. Zeros we'll see consistently there in Vegreville, St. Paul, and Marwayne as well. A little bit warmer down in Provost at 6 degrees. -3 for North Battleford for tomorrow. And -1 there we'll see there in St. Walburg. So here's a look at the next 7 days. We are going to get a little bit warmer as we get into the weekend. 2 degrees on Friday with that -1 though on Thursday once again. So colder mornings still kind of on the horizon there for Wednesday and Thursday. 3 degrees on Saturday with a little bit more cloud coverage. 1 degree on Sunday and then 0 on Monday. Looking ahead into Tuesday, we're going to get clear skies, but still a little bit colder. One of the colder days we'll see of the 7-day forecast here at -5. But that is a look at your 7-day forecast for now. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. This past year has placed a financial burden on many. In response, one organization has created an online seminar with the aim of helping participants with financial literacy. Becca Day has more.
I'm here with Cheryl Harrell-Urak, Executive Director at READ Saskatoon, to learn more about their upcoming financial literacy workshops. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you, Becca. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for taking the time. To start, do you mind telling us a bit about READ Saskatoon and what services it provides?
Yeah, so we are a local literacy organization who has been working throughout the province for probably the last 20 years. So we do adult one-to-one tutorings. We also do family literacy, and we do children's literacy programming and financial literacy, which is like, it's such a great time. I'm glad you reached out because it's Fraud Protection Month, and we just love talking about ways that families can learn and grow their financial literacy knowledge.
Perfect. So what will people be learning in these financial literacy workshops?
Yeah, we would really encourage people if they have time to register for the workshops. And over the next month, we have a banking workshop, we have 2 budgeting workshops, and then a credit or debt. You don't have to do all 4, but of course, the more you learn, the more you grow, the more skills you can develop at the same time. So we would love people to do all 4 workshops.
Awesome. So these sessions are online. Since you've transitioned to online workshops, have you found you've been able to reach a greater number of people?
Yeah, it's been really good. So most of the families and adults that we work with have found COVID really challenging. They would describe it as feeling isolated. Many of them have experienced changes in their employment. So many of the adults that we work with are also quite scared for their future and for their financial future. So these workshops have been a way for people to connect. We do them over Zoom or over WebEx. There's many different ways that we're doing it, but people just really appreciate the chance to come together to talk about something that for many of them is also shame based or they're concerned about. And so they don't have to participate, they can sit quietly, but even just the chance to learn and grow. So our workshops are education and information focused. We don't give advice, but what we do, the participants tell us is that we give them the confidence so that they can make healthier, stronger choices because they have more information at the end of those workshops.
Perfect. You did sort of touch on this already, but this past year has been difficult for a great number of people financially. So why is it important to be financially literate, and how does our current situation emphasize that importance?
Oh, I'll tell you, like the one thing that we've learned, we were really fortunate. We had a small health grant to look at the impact of low literacy during this time on individuals and families. And, when you're isolated and you're alone, or if you're a single mom raising your children and you struggle with reading and writing, it is challenging. It's challenging to keep your job, but it's also challenging to help your children with their schoolwork or to also communicate with your child's teachers. And isolation breeds fear. It also makes you second guess the decisions that you're making. So we've learned that most of the people that we work with have really responded well to phone calls. That technology and during COVID is wonderful, but the good old phone is one of the best ways to connect with people and to break that sense of isolation.
Awesome. So is there an enrollment fee at all for this workshop?
No, so we're really fortunate. We have some great donors and supporters for our program, so there's no charge for these workshops. You would just go on our website and you look under events and you'll see financial literacy. You would register for one or hopefully for all 4 of those workshops. And then Mackenzie or Jocelyn will send you the link and then you can participate in the workshop at no charge. Debt is a real serious a barrier for many of the families that we work for and that we serve. So, we don't want to charge fees. That's not the point of this, that this information is free and that they can come and access the programs at no charge.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Cheryl. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we will be taking a look at your pet pad pictures. Thank you to everyone who submitted your pictures to our Facebook page, and you can do so throughout the week to be entered to win a pet pad gift card on Friday.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Hello everybody, I'm joined once again with Becca Lawrence from the Lloydminster and Community SPCA. How are you doing today, Becca? I see we're on location today.
Yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm hanging out over here at Pet Value Lloydminster with a couple of our bunnies that we've had in our care since the beginning of September. So we are trying to find homes for these guys, or girls, I should say.
Beautiful. And so, Becca, I know rabbits are generally, they're a little different than cats and dogs, right? Like I grew up on a farm, so we had lots of different animals, right? And we had pet rabbits, and they're lovely. They're great, great animals. But what specifically do you think is, different about caring for a rabbit than, say, your traditional cat or your dog? Kind of what are people signing up for when they decide to adopt a rabbit?
Yeah, so I mean, in my opinion, they're a little bit harder to read, but they're really good animals too. And like cats, you can litter train them too. But I mean, the only real difference is in food. You know, you have to get them some hay to eat and vegetables, so you know they're nice and healthy. And yeah, so I mean, it's just a little bit different in that aspect. So and giving them some space to run, right? I mean, like you know, this cage here isn't quite big enough for 2 rabbits, that's for sure. And they just like cats, they like to stretch their legs and play around.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's actually a girl at our office who she has a pet rabbit, and I take care of it sometimes when she's out of town for an extended period. And I know one thing that she does is, you know, she lets the rabbit just kind of wander through the house like she would with any other pet, right? Like they just make sure there's no junk on the floor. You know, you keep your house clean, and it's all good. And you know, the bunny just kind of goes in her spot to sleep. But other than that, you know, the bunny's just hanging out, having a good time. Beautiful. So, how are you guys doing for other pets? You know, dogs, cats, things like that. Obviously, the bunnies are here at Pet Value, so if anybody out there, you know, wants a rabbit, certainly stop by Pet Value and say hi, you know, even if you've never, you know, played with a rabbit or, you know, seen a pet rabbit up close, certainly stop in and check them out. But aside from the rabbits, Becca, how are you guys doing for animals?
Yeah, I mean, so at the shelter, actually, we have 2 more rabbits. So we have a couple bunnies in care right now. And then, you know, just a couple hanging over at PetSmart and one over at Puppy Love. And then actually at the shelter, we're quite low on our cats again. And same with dogs. Like we had a few come in over the weekend. So we have a little bit of dogs in care now, other than like the, you know, the one that we only had last week. But overall, we're not terribly full, which is really nice. So I mean, we're just going to have some more space on that waiting list to call and fill us up again.
Beautiful. Well, that's really good to hear. Obviously, you know, it's great that you have lots of open shelter space. So I guess, Becca, since you know, rabbits seem to be the focus this week, and that's your guys' your big push, you obviously have a large rabbit population. If somebody wanted to get a rabbit, what are kind of the things that they need before, you know, they come in and they pick one up? Obviously, right? Like these rabbits here got their little cage, and you know, you're mentioning you need bedding for them and things like that. So what's kind of like the starter kit for a potential rabbit owner, so to speak?
Yeah, so I mean, I would recommend getting a cage for them just so that can kind of be their initial space to begin with. And then, you know, kind of just like dogs, you know, with a crate, you know, it's kind of could be their safe place to go to at night. And throwing stuff around here. And yeah, and then just obviously the food and water and things like that. And then until you get to kind of know your animal and where they, you know, if they're going to be good or if they're going to chew on cords, things like that, if they need to be supervised or if they're going to be good on their own. That's all the stuff you want to figure out initially too. So I would recommend the cage setup and the food just to kind of get started, and then just go from there. Work with your animal.
Beautiful. All right. So once again, if anybody out there in the border city is looking for a pet bunny rabbit, the SPCA has lots that you can go and meet and you know, have your pick of the litter, so to speak. Well, that's all the time we have for today, Becca, but I really want to thank you for joining us, and we'll speak with you again next week.
Yes, for sure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Manage your waste and recyclables with Quick Pick Waste Disposal. 100% locally owned and proud to serve and support the communities we call home. Quick Pick, the convenient solution to avoid pollution.
Well, joining us here today on Primetime Local News is Haley Witters, talking about not only her new hit single, but also talking about her new album, which is a deluxe version of her album that's currently out right now called Living the Dream, which includes some big country artists on this deluxe track, including Little Big Town. Haley, just give us a little bit of a background on the hit single, Fill in My Cup, which we're talking about today, and also the creative process with that music video, and also how you got Little Big Town to be a part of this project.
Yeah, well, I was writing that day with 2 just songwriting heroes, Nicole Gallion and Hillary Lindsay, both just incredible songwriters in their own right. And somehow I managed to get them both in the same room together. And we were sitting down to write, and I'm flipping through some ideas, and I had this title, Fill in My Cup. in my phone and I threw it out and they kind of latched onto it. And Nicole instantly started talking like, what if we made it like a recipe, like a little of this, a little of that, one part this, one part that, sugar, the salt, pour it all in that cup, shake it up, and just kind of making it a song about, the highs and lows in life, the good, the bad, taking it all and trying to find the silver lining in all of it and just stay positive. And so we wrote it, and I remember, we were all, I got home that night and I'm sitting at the kitchen counter playing it on my guitar to my boyfriend, Jake, who's also my producer. And he was like, oh my God, we have to cut this like tomorrow. And I was like, really? I mean, I like knew it was good and stuff, but I was a little like iffy on some of the things. I didn't know if they were right, and he was adamant about it. And so I just trusted him, and we went into the studio, and getting to hear it in the studio really brought it to life for me. And it just has this energy. It's fresh, it's modern, but it's also a little throwback. And and the catchiness, like you're saying, that chorus, it's like you almost feel like you like heard that somewhere. It just feels familiar and like home a little bit. And so we recorded it, and then we're thinking about who could be on it with this for this deluxe project. And I instantly was like, Little Big Town, they just have to be on it. I mean, they would slay this song. It feels like something that they would have maybe just done on their own. And their harmonies, I mean, on those choruses and stuff, getting to hear all that 4-part harmony on that song, I just knew it was perfect for them. And so they agreed to it, and we got to have a really magical day in the studio. And then, a few months later, asked them if they'd want to be in the music video, and they said yes again. And again, it was just a day of like, pinch me, I mean, getting to work with them was so cool and such a learning experience. And they're just the most like salt of the earth people. They're just good vibes. We were freezing because it was freezing in Nashville that day, but we were wrapping ourselves up in blankets and passing the whiskey jug like in between takes and trying to stay warm. And we had a lot of fun with that music video. My creative director, Harper Smith, kind of came up with that whole, like, let's leave them at the altar and you run off. And, she was like, something needs to call you from outside the church. And I was thinking, and I'm like, well, I just met Ketch Secor from Old Crow Medicine Show, and I love that band. I wonder if he'd be willing to come and like play fiddle, and kind of be my fairy godfather in the sense that he kind of calls me home with that fiddle. And I bust out of the church and leave the guy at the altar. So it was a really fun day.
When you got to see the album for the first time come together, how rewarding was it for you with all the hard work that was put into it, all the sacrifices, and what were some thoughts going through your head at that time?
Man, I don't know what like the one word what would be, like encouraging or like validating. I think like not even just as an artist, but just as a person, I was in such a broken spot before I made this record. I was just tired, and I was just really questioning why I got into this business in the first place. And I was just like, does music matter? Like, I needed to find like the magic in music and the magic in songs, and just like, everything just seemed so mechanical in the industry to me at that point. And I just needed to believe in like the magic of a good song, and a good song resonating with fans, and like them being able to hear it, and it being able to just like transform, and I needed to feel that. And so I feel like this record literally changing my whole life, changing my career. I owe a lot of it to that one little song, 10-Year Town, and into some of the other ones, Janice at the hotel bar. Like, I've gotten to just see through this process, it does matter, and it's important to do what you believe in, and it's important to do what you think matters. And so I think getting to see the vinyl, getting to hold the vinyl in my hands was just that perfect little reminder, and kind of just like, I guess, empowering moment of encouragement and empowerment that, like, it's important to do what you believe in. And I think that and gratitude. I mean, gratitude all the way, because there were people, carrying me through when I couldn't even carry myself through. When I was ready to give up, they were saying, hang on, one more song, one more show, and so I feel lucky in a lot of ways to have a lot of those people in my corner.
Haley, I really appreciate your time. Living the Dream, the deluxe version, is out now to stream or to purchase. Haley, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for chatting with me.
All right, taking one last look here at your weather forecast. We're going to see some -1s heading into tomorrow, as well as on Thursday. Lots of sunshine still throughout the week here. As we look into the weekend, we are going to see very warm temperatures there. 2 degrees on Friday, 3 degrees on Saturday there. A little bit more cloud coverage for Saturday. We could see also those numbers potentially rise as well and get a little bit warmer than it shows on the screen there. 1 degree on Sunday, a little bit more cloud coverage going into Monday at 0 with that low of -8. Then we get back to some kind of pretty cold temperatures there. Kind of cold, I guess you want to say, there in the mid-range there at -5. But we'll have some clear skies throughout the day with that -5 high and -9 for our daytime low, usually averaging around -4 as our daytime high, and averaging -13 is what we usually see around this time of year as our daytime low.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.